Gaming is culture.
You fucking whiny whore.
Gaming.
Wait, pause. Oh boy, dude. I'm sure this is going to be a really big brain to take.
All right, what's going on, everybody? Welcome.
As he plays a digital game.
Welcome back to another video here on the channel, and today we're going to be taking a look at a news story that has come out where obviously Sony has gotten themselves into some hot water yet again. In fact, they have now drawn the ire of an advocacy group known as Stop Killing Games. Now, the name of that is pretty self-explanatory, but this group has officially launched a lawsuit against Sony claiming that their PlayStation brand is essentially utilized as a monopoly in the video game market and that Sony is planning to...
How is the PlayStation brand a monopoly in the video game market? You can buy a PlayStation, an Xbox, a Nintendo Switch, an infinite number of PC configurations. You can use a cell phone, and there's video game streaming. How the fuck is PlayStation a monopoly? Like, that's just...
to continue strengthening that grip on this, quote, monopoly that Stop Killing Games and another Dutch consumer group that has actually started the lawsuit are alleging exists. So Sony has had a ton of horrible press in the last couple of months, and it mainly has revolved around the decision that they announced a few weeks ago that they will stop in 2028 manufacturing physical media like discs for their PlayStation gaming brand, meaning that any future PlayStation console will be a digital-only subscription box, essentially, right? So Sony is actually facing a couple of lawsuits. We'll talk about that in this article here from IGN, but this specific lawsuit that is being brought forward is actually revolving mostly around a situation that happened over in Europe. Most of you watching this video are American, so this is one of those instances where, you know, this whole thing actually happens in Europe. So the Stop Killing Games movement is officially suing Sony, claiming the company's, quote, monopoly over the video game market is blatantly, quote, against the law. Sony is facing a number of lawsuits in a handful of countries following its controversial decision to stop printing physical games starting in January 2028. This move has sparked...
Dude, the European Union already fucking spoke on this and said, we cannot force a company to sell physical media. Like, this has already been settled by the European Parliament. So this is just more we did it Reddit type, you know, give me your fucking money retards type shit. I don't know. This is just more cash extraction. You will literally own nothing and be happy because you keep funding Reddit tier lawsuits over shit that doesn't fucking matter.
New discourse surrounding the ownership of physical media, leaving players around the world fearful for the future of gaming platforms and what pricing will look like in an all-digital marketplace. The latest...
You know, if gamers were actually fucking serious about making a change, we would pool our funds and buy a company like Ubisoft. You know, if we got 1 million people to kick in like $2,000 each on average, we could literally buy Ubisoft. That would be an actual good use of money. But no, they're not going to fucking do that type of shit. They're going to fund LOL suits where the only one who actually wins in either situation is Abraham Berg or, you know, Martin Steen. So the lawyers will win in the end and nobody else. All you're doing is just pissing more fucking money away on nothing.
Entity to join these lawsuits is the Stop Killing Games movement, a consumer-led initiative working to end the trend of developers, quote, killing online or live service games once official support for them has ended. Formed in 2024, Stop Killing Games has made its way to the European Commission and garnered over 1.2 million verified signatures on a petition as part of its European Citizens Initiative, and now it's joining the fight against Sony's plan for a future without physical games. So, like I said, Sony is actually facing numerous lawsuits right now. There is apparently one, according to this article, in Mexico, I believe. There's the one that we're discussing. So it seems like all around the world, in different markets, in different areas, people are just fed the fuck up with Sony. And honestly, this has been a long time coming. It's sad to say because I used to be such a big PlayStation fan. I used to primarily game on PlayStation as a kid and young adult. But now just watching them burn through whatever goodwill that they've had left with the public and with their customers and everything, right? It's just like watching somebody set a wildfire with the structure to their own house. You know, it's very weird. And then they doubled down on that decision after all of the backlash, after lawsuits, after, you know, everything that you would think would be a clear sign like, hey, don't fucking do this. But they decided to double down. And so now Stop Killing Games as a consumer-led initiative has decided that they are going to do something about it. So as presented in a YouTube video uploaded on August 10th, 2026, Stop Killing Games announced its plan to join Dutch consumer organization Stichting Massachade and Consument, if I butchered that, please forgive me for that, which filed a $457 million lawsuit against Sony back in February over claims of artificially inflating their prices on the PlayStation Store for users in the Netherlands. In its video, Stop Killing Games described the increased cost of these digital titles as an unlawful Sony tax, saying it wants to fight for fair game prices and real alternatives to the online PlayStation Store, making specific mention of Sony's plans to shift to a fully online shop shopping experience. It's also demanding that Sony repay the money they allegedly
Raymond with the 2, yeah, EU Commission, not EU Parliament. Yeah, but the Commission is the one that drafts the laws, so the Parliament votes on the laws. So it doesn't matter. I mean, the fact is you can't compel a company to create a product just because you want them to. Like, there is no legal precedent behind forcing Sony to sell physical media. Like, it's just not possible. It'd be like forcing Microsoft to sell physical fucking cloud storage. Like, it's like counterintuitive to the entire bit. Like, yeah, no. It's not, nothing's going to come from this. Nothing is going to come from this. They couldn't even get Ubisoft to have to, like, keep an online-only game offline. Do you really think they're going to compel Sony and the rest of the video game industry by extension to make physical discs even though nobody's buying? Like, yeah, nah, not going to happen. This is another fucking waste of money. So it's another attempt to have a "we did it" Reddit movement and just blow a bunch of money that could be used elsewhere.
Made from Dutch players who bought games on its digital platform, with sticking Massenschade and Consummate saying that this amount adds up to hundreds of millions of euros. So I actually, at least when this initially was a problem or reported on or whatever, I never actually heard anything about this. So this lawsuit is alleging that in the Netherlands, I believe that's where this is all going to be centered around here, that Sony essentially, because, you know, the PlayStation Store operates in different markets in different ways, apparently in this specific market, they were charging an increased cost on digital titles. They were, as the article claims, artificially inflating their prices on the PlayStation Store. So apparently they got caught doing this. I would assume with this lawsuit that they have some sort of actual evidence that this took place, right? It isn't like they're going to file a hundreds of millions of dollar lawsuit with literally no evidence going into the
People file lawsuits with no evidence all the fucking time.
Courtroom. Now, obviously, I'm not Dutch, okay? So I can't really actually verify any of this, if that makes any sense. It's not like I was somebody that this happened to. I don't really live in the area. Like I said, this is really my first time hearing about this whole situation, but apparently it was bad enough to really cause a stir and get people on board to launch a lawsuit against Sony for it, which, like it says now, Stop Killing Games is jumping on board with. So whether this is actually true or not, I think that the allegations being made in this lawsuit are a
So now Stop Killing Games is going to become the ambulance chaser equivalent of video game lawsuits.
Perfect example of the type of shit that I and many other people have been talking about being a problem, that, hey, if you let PlayStation essentially have a full-on monopoly in this instance over the distribution of a lot of these games, where the only way to really buy them is through the PlayStation Store because you can't...
What games? PlayStation game? What games is PlayStation monopolizing other than its own games? Like, what game is coming out on PlayStation that you literally can't get anywhere else other than Sony's own games? Like, this is just not an issue, bro. This is not a fucking issue.
Go buy a disc. Even if you go to a retailer, you're buying a code for PlayStation that you're going to have to input on the PlayStation Store. So, you know, at the end of the day, if you give Sony or really any company the full control over that distribution, you get to a point where they can do this, right? Where they can artificially inflate the prices. They can, at that point, realistically determine that games cost whatever they want them to. I mean, you think fucking $80 to $100 is bad for a video game. Try, if Sony gets the opportunity, try deciding what you're going to do when your new game that you're excited for is coming out at a price tag of $200, right? So this...
Does he not realize that publishers are the ones who set the prices? It's not Sony. If I'm Rockstar and I'm selling GTA 6 on PlayStation, I'm setting the price, not Sony. If I want to sell it for $10 or $10,000, it's entirely on the publisher to decide that. The only control Sony has is over their own games, which by virtue of being exclusive is self-evident. You know, you buy a console with the expectations that, you know, there's going to be exclusive software that you can only get there. But again, this is just another "we did it" Reddit lawsuit that's going to go fucking nowhere. Raymond with the 5 months. Stop Killing Games may not have the EU make brand new laws, but they can have the EU take already existing laws and modify them. They already tried that and it got shot down. So.
All right, awesome. Thanks, nigga. All right.
They already tried. So, yeah. They couldn't even get Ubisoft to make an online-only game playable offline. They're not going to get the entire video game industry to have mandatory physical discs. Like, It's not gonna happen. Let's see. Forza Italia with the 5. Yep, we can check it out. Appreciate it, man.
This is why people like me and others have been saying, like, you do not want to actually be gaming or doing anything in a digital-only landscape where these corporations control the whole experience, and you're getting nicked
While he plays a digital-only game on his PlayStation 5.
Bruh.
and dimed like this. You don't want to deal with all that, trust me. So, as previously mentioned, Stop Killing Games and SMNC aren't the only entities taking legal action against Sony. Mexican lawmakers have submitted a formal complaint to Mexico's National Antitrust Commission requesting an investigation into Sony for alleged anti-competitive practices due to its plan.
Do you know why Mexico's doing this? All of the Xbox games are printed in Mexico. I don't know about PlayStation games. I think they're printed in Austria, but I'm not sure. But Mexico is probably doing this because they want to deter Xbox from shutting down their disc manufacturing over there.
To end physical disc production. A class action lawsuit was also filed against Sony within the United Kingdom in March 2026, alleging that millions of users in the region were subjected to, quote, excessive and unfair charges through the PlayStation Store. And in May, PlayStation console owners launched a lawsuit against Sony to try.
Okay, yeah, I was right. Austria. Austria. That's what I thought. And then, where are Xbox discs? They used to be made in Mexico. I'm pretty sure they still are. Yep, Mexico. That's what I thought.
And claim refunds after the company increased PS5 prices due to tariffs in 2025. While not all these suits are dealing with the death of physical discs specifically, it's clear that consumers aren't happy with the shift in policy and are making their voices heard, whether that be through a flood of comments on PlayStation's social media posts or in the court of law. Okay, so like it says here, you know, there's now lawsuits where it's, okay, so in the Dutch courts, in the United Kingdom, in Mexico, so this is happening all over the world. This is happening on, you know, continents on both sides of the world, and I'm assuming that there's the possibility that more lawsuits open up down the road. You know what I'm saying? It's not like this is the end-all be-all of it. It is possible that more lawsuits end up getting filed. So Sony has really just done a number on themselves. It's to the point where you can't even feel bad for them. You can't even really give them the benefit of the doubt. They straight up made the wrong decision. They're dealing with the consequences of it both in court and through their customers. And these lawsuits that are, you know, not necessarily related to one another, but are kind of related to one another in the instance that these stories sound remarkably similar. I mean, we have the Dutch people in this lawsuit claiming that Dutch PlayStation users were being unfairly charged increased inflated prices. And then you have people in the UK claiming that millions of people in their country were getting charged unfair, excessive, extra charges through the PlayStation Store as well. This sounds pretty similar to one another in terms of like what the complaint is. Now, I'm not here to suggest that there is some sort of like conspiracy that Sony has to charge European users more for their games or whatever, but if that is the case, and I guess these lawsuits will inevitably show whether or not that is the case, then Sony really is just showing their entire hand. I mean, just beyond the point of, you know, if it is true, they should go fuck themselves, people should boycott them, whatever, right? If it is going to turn out that this is actually true, and they were essentially just charging European users way more for nothing, right? This is the exact
No, they weren't charging Europeans more for nothing. They probably have all these value-added taxes that get baked into the price because Europe loves taxing its people. So, again, that falls on government policy. Most likely. But we'll see.
Reason why you don't want to see these guys in control of the whole thing, man. Like, in these markets where Sony feels untouchable, you know, these are smaller countries. It's not like the United States or, you know, China, somewhere where there's hundreds of millions, if not billions of people. Some of these countries, you know, there's, 10, 20, 30, 40 million people. The UK is smaller than the US, right? So, like, I feel like they think because they were in the European market, maybe we can just kind of get away with it, right? We can kind of sneak it by, no one's going to notice or whatever. But if the worst case scenario in this whole thing is actually true and Sony really was doing some low-down, grimy shit trying to basically scam their own customers in Europe, I mean, what else proof do you need that when they get control of the digital-only landscape, right? When they got you buying all your games through PlayStation, you think it's bad now when they're really trying to test the waters? Wait till they feel real confidence. You know what I mean? Wait till we're a couple.
Yeah, well, I think by law, doesn't Europe require you to not show the breakdown of value-added tax? Like, I think it has to just be one flat price. You're not allowed to show, like, the breakdown of, like, $20, and then it adds the $10 to your cart when you put it in. Like, I'm pretty sure it has to be there up front. So it'd say $30, not 20. Whereas, like, in the U.S., when we pay sales tax, you know, they show the price pre-tax, and then the tax gets added on when you go and check out. But I think in Europe, they have to show the tax on the price tag, if I'm not mistaken. So, yeah, I don't really know. what the issue is with that, but whatever.
Couple years into that PS6 cycle, right, where people have already basically just bought this digital only shit up, you know, they're just dealing with it or whatever. You let it get to that point, man, some of the shit they're going to be doing is unprecedented, unthinkable in the moment right now. And I hate to have to use like the slippery slope argument where it's like, oh, you know, what if this happens, what if that happens, yada yada or whatever, right? But at the end of the day, man, it's actually true in this instance. This is the reality of the situation here. Sony is showing everybody that they are not intending on doing the right thing for customers. They're showing everybody that they're really only out for the same thing that every other business in the world is out for. They only give a fuck about the money, bro. As long
Wow, dude, what a shocking revelation. Sony's just like everybody else. Oh my god, guys, I thought they were my friend.
as people are buying the new PlayStation games, as people are still buying these consoles or whatever, right, they're still making money.
You mean the one you're playing on right now where you just bought a brand new digital-only release and you're paying for PlayStation Plus to play it? Yeah, okay.
They're still getting by. They're still paying the bills, right? They're not hurting for money. So realistically, I mean, lawsuits, I think, maybe are a good way to actually counteract them in that way, because if these lawsuits are successful, there is a pretty solid chance that either Sony will be doling out big paydays to people who are suing them in class action suits, or they will inevitably, if they do lose some of these cases, have to possibly reconsider their decision with the whole ending disc production. Now, they seem pretty adamant.
No. Dude, they're not ending fucking disc production and then reversing that because of a fucking LOL suit. Like, sorry. You can't force a company to make a product. That's not how the fucking free market works, bro. Like, that's just not gonna fucking happen.
And hell-bent on it now.
You can't force Apple to keep making iPhone 4s. You can't fucking force Sony to make cassette tapes. Like, bro. This is just so fucking stupid.
All right, they're doubling down on it now, but you let a couple of these big class action lawsuits kick them in the nuts a couple times. They start paying out hundreds of millions of euros in penalties and
whatever happened to that lawsuit to force Apple to put the headphone jack back on?
And shit, you might start see them actually reconsidering things a little bit at that point, especially with all the pressure they've been getting from their normal customers. So it just goes to show here, man, like, yeah, there's another lawsuit. It's Stop Killing Games this time. They're joining in on the craze and they're trying to, you know, make their voices heard with all this. But isn't it just a shame that it even really has to get to this point, man? So anyway, with that being said, thank you guys for watching. If you did enjoy, make sure to leave a like, subscribe if you're brand new around here on the channel. Follow me on Twitter and Twitch at SubTheOptimist. Make sure to check out Shoptimist down below. Thank you to my Watch Optimist subscribers. Your support helps the channel tremendously. And until my next video, guys, this is Optimist, well, talking about Sony getting hit with this new lawsuit and signing out.
Oh, it's all so tiresome, man. It's the same. Another one, dude. More pressure's building. Oh my god.
It's been more than a month since Sony announced
they're about to shit their pants, guys. Are they gonna risk it on the Taco Bell fart? Who knows?
They would be scaling back production for Blu-ray or physical media for the PlayStation at January 2028, and it's still going, as in a lot of the pushback, the discussion, and now things are really picking up here and really turning up the heat right now for Sony when it comes to the legal side, lawsuits, regulators. They're definitely taking more and more of a look at really the hold that Sony has on this current marketplace. And now we're starting to see like large accounts and movements here, even backing some of these initiatives. And I want to take a look at that, as well as discuss somewhat of where we are right now with digital ownership, which feels basically non-existent with some of these companies even now trying to look forward already to cloud gaming. But we'll go over all of that and more. Guys, if you enjoyed these videos, make sure you hit that like button and subscribe if you're new. So this really picked up online the other day. This is Stop Killing Games. Of course, they've been big advocates around, well, people like these companies stop killing games, and a lot of it started with the crew, but it's really just looked around at the entire industry in general, where games can literally just be taken offline, removed from your library, even if you paid full price for it. And in some cases, as we saw recently with a cloud streamed game on the Switch, doesn't matter if it was a few years ago, it's all built into their end user license agreements, and you don't actually own the game. They're willing to be upfront with you about it then, but not necessarily when you buy the game and it says, you know, buy game. Okay, so they say it's time to sue Sony, join us. Does It Play and Stop Killing Games are backing the class action lawsuit against Sony. So this is actually a lawsuit that is going on right now with the Netherlands, and it's the Mass Damage and Consumer Foundation started the Fair PlayStation Collective Action on behalf of Dutch PlayStation gamers. The procedure revolves around the question of whether Sony abuses its dominant position by allowing digital purchases exclusively within its own closed ecosystem and therefore charging too high prices are just too high. Now, we know that Sony, the way they work is there's a 30% cut that they take from all the games that flow through their digital storefront. Now, I do believe there are some instances that are quite rare compared to how many games are on there, but the split will be altered somewhat. Like, I'd be shocked if Sony was getting 30% of GTA 6. Something tells me that Take-Two is probably getting a more favorable split just because of the amount of money that they're going to immediately flow through that PlayStation Store, but also the partnership and the marketing that they have going. It wouldn't shock me if they just happen to get a better deal than 30%. Nonetheless, the point is that Sony does control the market completely there, and years ago, Sony removed the ability to buy games completely, outright, digitally, from these big box stores. And what I mean by that is, you used to have code cards up on the wall. They scaled that back to where you could really just buy, like, in-store points, basically, gift cards for the PlayStation Store, and that way you just exchange money for money, really, and then use it through their PlayStation Store, not necessarily setting up a retailer to compete with them on the game side for a game-to-game basis. It's just money for money, and then whatever Sony's selling it for, right? The idea is eliminating competition around the price tag for any one game. And many different lawsuits started to pop up after that specifically happened, and Sony's been kind of working through them. Unfortunately, the way that they've been working through them is more or less just settlements. Like, there is one that went to settlement, and it's about to finish up, I believe, in October, and it's for like $8 million. Like, Sony, of course, is going to pay $8 million to just keep moving. Like, clearly, that's a drop in the bucket to them for the amount of money they stand to make in just an all-digital ecosystem here. So the way that this is working, and again, they're just right now
This shit is so fucking boring, man.
representing Dutch gamers, but
Who the fuck cares?
PlayStation gamers, as they say here. But this apparently would work all the way back.
Reminder, in a hobby that focuses on playing games, these motherfuckers would rather sit here and pontificate about my disc. I don't know, dude. I mean, it speaks to how shitty the modern industry is anyway, that people would rather talk about this shit than actually play games. But at the same time, it's like, just come on, bro. How many times do we have to see the exact same fucking video from yet another person?
To 2013, and really just kind of targeting the start of the PlayStation 4 generation, where every PS4 launched with the ability to buy digital games from the storefront, a la carte, and from there, Sony being able to control it with their 30%.
Yeah, I'm going, like, at this point, I'm moving from not being interested in the PS6 to buying it out of spite.
Cut. Now, they went back, and this is an entire page that they updated after Sony had made that announcement. And they've been kind of adding on to it and updating it as they've gone along, but just really pointing out that Sony is moving away from physical media, ceasing production of physical discs for new PlayStation games. So all that's really done in their mind, in many other cases, is just kind of strengthen their argument that Sony is working to funnel, all these game purchases specifically through them. Now, there is one caveat to that. We don't necessarily know the entirety of the story, because Sony, over on their PlayStation blog, said that they'll continue to prioritize resources to drive innovation in how players can access games and provide choices as to whether players prefer to purchase new games, whether that's at retailers or PlayStation Store. So right now, my understanding, because they had mentioned this with investors, seems to be a code in a box situation. We don't necessarily know 100%, but that's kind of what they were alluding to, and it would make sense that that's the direction that Sony want to go. And while they used to do that through code cards, it would be something I can point at and say, no, we're allowing this retailer to sell the game. Yes, it's a code in a box, and that technically means it will never be used, so there is no used market for us to compete with, but we're not just having them sell gift cards for us. This is, in our world, where it's all a digital ecosystem, this is a tangible product, tangible game that can then be digitized. I know it's a really roundabout and kind of annoying argument, but that's what happens when you get to court. They'll make these kind of arguments, sure. But this one is over in the UK as of March 10th, 2026. And similar situation here. Millions of UK PlayStation users have been victims of excessive and unfair download charges. The tribunal has heard $2.7 billion, though, in this case, for the class action lawsuit brought against Sony by consumer campaigner Alex Neil, claims the console maker prevented players from purchasing digital products outside of its own closed ecosystem. This is also going to be an entire thing they'll be focusing on, this closed or this walled garden. And this is where Sony does need to be careful, all right? Because while I'm sure they love to be able to get out of a lot of these different lawsuits and just keep rolling towards this digital ecosystem where they control everything and it's completely closed down, we've seen it happen with Apple being one of the latest examples where, they went to court over it, and then we got to the point where Epic Games can kind of go around Apple's payment processing for Fortnite transactions. And it's, you look at that and go, oh, that would really do some damage to Sony and their bottom line, because of just how reliant they are right now on live service games, of course, microtransactions, battle passes. That revenue, as we looked at in their recent earnings report, that alone, you combine physical and digital games, things people are arguing over right now. Yeah, all the add-on content eclipses that all combined by like a fair amount. So that would be devastating to Sony if there was a way to go around this this closed ecosystem, even for add-on content, and they could just bypass that, and then Sony doesn't get 30% or so of all these different transactions. We also had this pop up just about, right around when Sony made that announcement. Mexican lawmakers filed antitrust complaint against PlayStation and Sony over PlayStation Store following the potential end of physical games. And here, the thing is, we keep seeing these pop up, right? Like, there is obvious pressure that's mounting against Sony from regulators and lawmakers, and this is definitely something we're focusing in on. And sure, sometimes we get the class action lawsuits that in this case is worth a fair amount of money, $2.7 billion. I would say the money itself, if you've been part of a class action lawsuit, whether on purpose or just by accident, because they just usually opt you in and you have to just opt out yourself, and most
I don't know. I mean, I probably should get Wolverine to review it, but I don't really have any interest in it, to be honest. I don't even know when it comes out.
people either don't think about it, don't know about it, don't care enough, right, to opt out even. And they're like, oh, maybe I'll get something out of it. And then you do, and it shows up in the mail 4 years later or something, and it's for $12 on a check. You're like, great. Is it worth going out to the bank to even deposit this for how much gas costs or whatever? But the point is, the money angle, I don't think is going to be as much of a driving force for just regular people out there who are playing games on their PlayStation. No, trust me, for any law firms who are able to successfully navigate the courtroom for years even and then get to the finish line and get paid out millions, it's worth it to them. No, to me, it'll be more so the pressure, the idea that not only more lawsuits could come down, but that more government interference could come down. And that's the thing we have to understand. Again, I know there is a big war that's been brewing and continuing right now on the internet around physical media and people pushing back on Sony to keep game discs around. The thing is, we have seen at least some statements from officials that they can't technically keep Sony like in the game for physical media. Like they can't tell them, hey, you have to make Blu-ray discs for your PlayStation. And
right,
no, that's
awesome.
true. Because if that's the case, you can have the government interfere for all kinds of things and make these console makers, these platform holders, do all kinds of stuff that they want. And so that is a slippery slope as it is. But it, to me, comes back then to the idea of digital ownership, which right now heavily favors the platform holders and is a massive disadvantage for any gamers out there, customers, whoever. You have the short end of the stick for this entire situation. Whether you buy a game and it's immediately locked to your account, or it gets to a position where they just don't want to provide the game, or they have to take it back for licensing or likeness, or maybe they just don't want it out there anymore. And it could be down to even as something as basic as a demo. I know PT is brought up a lot, but that is a good example. It's like, that is such an interesting demo that has lost the time, and if you want to play it, you do have to basically just hack your PlayStation 4 and load it up yourself. See, because at least with physical media being around, we had an out. And we still do right now, but not beyond January 2028, to where there is an option with how
I love how this concern is like so unfounded that they have to reference a fucking demo. Like, is that not lost on anyone else? Like, this issue that they're describing is so uncommon that the #1 poster child for not being able to access something is a literal fucking demo. Like, oh my science, guys, I can't play a demo again. Oh my god, no. Like, that's literally all it is. Like, that's crazy, man. The levels of, like, reach on this particular topic to make it bigger than it really is just kind of comical to me. Like, oh no, dude, we lost a free fucking demo that no one paid for a game that never came out. Oh man, whatever will we do?
Low this whole digital ownership is to get figured out. We have a way to buy a game,
yeah, Flappy Bird,
and it not be attached to a singular account.
That.
So, for example, I have a PlayStation 5 that I set up for the kids. And I'm like, hey, you can play Ratchet and Clank if you want to have the game disc, pop it in the PS5, install, and you can play it. But I thought about it, I said, man, if that wasn't the case, and it was only digital, I don't want to put my PlayStation Network account on their PS5, and also on mine. I want to leave that just on my system. So how would I let them play or borrow Ratchet and Clank if it's solely attached to my account? What you should be able to do is, if you buy a game digitally, it should be a local setup, local files that is completely detached from your account, but still on your system. And if I want to take a 128 gigabyte flash drive, plug it into the PS5, and move the local files with a license attached to it, yes, there will be a unique ID attached to it, but move it to the USB stick, and then take it upstairs, drop.
So basically, you want a blockchain cryptocurrency model. Do you guys remember way back in the day when all the fucking crypto hate and all that type of shit was going around, and I was saying, like, unironically, the best use case for the blockchain would be digital items and licenses? Wow, man. Ahead of the curve once again.
Put on their PS5, they should be able to play it. It should just be its own singular thing. See, because in that case, if your account gets banned for whatever reason, or it gets stolen, you don't have to then go, oh, I will be buying all my games, I guess, all over again. Because if you had them physically, you wouldn't be. You would say, man, that's really annoying. I can't get this account back. I don't know, is PlayStation with their security stuff, I guess. Or, yeah, maybe you were going a little crazy online and you got banned, but you still have all your stuff. You can reinstall it. These are the things that Sony should have spent the
If you get banned, you can still install your games.
last console generation, one we're in right now, the PS5, figuring out. Instead, cutting out physical media and just saying, oh, well, we'll see what happens, is a choice. So if nothing else, I think they still had another generation where they should have kept physical media around as kind of a fallback, as like, hey, no, there's still a way to not have games attached to accounts, and we're going to work through this, figure it out over the next 5 or 6 years or so, to where we get to a position where we are ready to detach from physical media, because obviously they want to, third parties want to, and honestly, a lot of the mainstream doesn't seem to care. They seem indifferent, so they're able to weigh it in favor of digital, but you got to have the digital ownership and rights figured out before you make that jump, and they haven't. And honestly, I think you should be able to sell your digital games, you should be able to trade them in. Like, these are all things that should have been ironed out, and now we are about to head into the PlayStation 6 generation and the Xbox Helix generation, because Xbox is more digital at this point than Sony is, with none of that resolved. And I'm not really sure how this works out with Sony as more and more uproar happens and more regulators take notice, because they can move the needle with Sony, and Sony could find themselves in a situation where they have to be very, very reactive, and that can end up completely backfiring on them. Now, I will say there's still so many things we don't know about the next generation. It is possible that they do have some of the stuff worked out, and they're just not ready to say anything because the PlayStation 6 isn't ready to be presented yet. So hopefully it's ready to be presented next year, and it's not getting delayed due to the memory or RAM crunch that's happening right now. Because
Okay, there we go. Yeah, OBS dropped my device, so I had to replug it in. I think we should be good now. Alright. Well, yeah, basically what I was saying is just, I don't know why the fuck you want to rush into next generation. Like, why do you want the next console to come out next year? Like, I don't get that at all, dude. Like, oh yeah, dude, let's release the new fucking PS6 because the PS5 was such a smashing success. You know, why don't we actually get some decent shit for this generation of consoles before we rush into the next one? But, you know, they just want their YouTube shekels talking about the new consoles.
Because so that, man, they're going to be sitting there for a very awkward year. And like, we should be able to tell people about what our digital plans are, but we can't because the PS6 is now coming out in 2028. Just a lot of this feels very, very rushed right now. And it kind of feels like something that was decided not that long ago. You know, the thing that's really sticking out to me that makes me think that's the case. You know, we were seeing so much advertising with the PlayStation 5 and the console. And think about GTA 6. Remember they showed us GTA 6, what was like the second trailer or whatever it was, and it was pretty clear Sony had the markings. They changed their app to look like the GTA 6 color scheme and everything, and then they had an advertisement with the PlayStation 5 right next to GTA 6, and it was the disc-based unit. And then they pulled the ad down, put it back up hours later, and it was the digital PS5 unit. Almost like they had old marketing that they were going to originally put up, and they decided to change it for some reason. This is what I mean. Some of these things are sticking out to me, and I'm noticing old marketing with the disk drive, new marketing that's months newer, maybe up to a year, and all of a sudden it's missing. So it feels somewhat recent of a decision, somewhat reactive. Makes me think Sony believes they do need these margins badly for digital, and man, it's gonna be interesting. But yeah, so the push continues online right now against Sony when it comes to physical media, and more these lawsuits popping up with class action. And once we start hearing from regulators and it getting serious in places like the EU, that's when you could see change be enacted. Maybe Sony has something up their sleeve to surprise us with into 2027 with the PS6 presentation, but at this point, I'll believe it when I see it. But let me know what you guys think about all this down below in the comments. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.
Let's see. So, Forza Italia with the 5. Yep, we can check it out. And Oski with the 5, I'm having a hard time finding. Oh, type in this. Just type in this. Dark Magical Curtain. Just put that in. Out of 100. Because that's the serialization of the cards. That should do it. That's what I searched for. But it should be a Chinese BGS card. Yeah, that's the thing, is like there's gonna be such a small generational leap that it's like I don't know why the fuck they're even gonna release the PS6 any sooner than 10 years after the PS5, but I don't know. It doesn't seem worthwhile to me. I wouldn't.
You're late. What?
Alright. Let's see.
Let's get started already.
Low res.
Damn this rain. Always when I'm out. No one goes near Pumpkin. At least not anymore. But you, my damn misfortune hadn't bled me dry. Get down. Hey! You still owe me for the ride!
Yeah, this already looks like parry slap. More Bing chilling slop. Yeah, the original time they showed it off, it looked pretty decent, but now it just looks like Harry slop. So.
I see. Looks like no room for negotiation.
External soul. Kill the shadow suffering. By the Lord's rules.
Yeah, there's a red, green, and blue Mew. So there's 3 variants of it. But yeah, I've seen it. Too much fucking fried food. Too much sewer peanut
Blurred
oil,
my eyes.
dude.
Was it the rain? Or blood?
You're finally here. Late again. I never thought, in the end, you'd be the only one who still cares whether people live or die.
Just
The
die a
Mandate's
lot.
leaders don't care about ordinary people.
Neither
The
do
merciful
I.
Lady of the Veil doesn't care either.
Base.
Nuoshang's order no longer upholds its rules. Nor does he care about the people of the Wulan. The peddlers, the laborers, the elderly, and the children. Who's left to protect them? And somehow, only you.
Not me.
There's so little time left.
It's time for my last battle.
I want to kill the women and the children.
They call me Quick Hand Jung. I travel the land collecting rare treasures and relics.
Dude, can we get one game where you can play as, like, a somewhat morally gray character? Like, why does every single person have to be, like, literally the biggest cocked, you know, super righteous, never do nothing wrong type, you know, video game character? Like, it's so fucking boring, bro. Like, oh, defeat the bad man, save the people. Oh, the evil ruling crash. Like, yeah, this is just China slop, bro. China slop.
The name's Forge. I serve under Lady Ananis as an artisan.
Taking you on that ride was worth it. Every bit of it.
Finally! You're here at last. I've been waiting forever.
GTA 6 is not what I'm talking about. GTA 6 is fucking dog shit, bro. Stop.
The three of us spent most of our lives fighting for the Mandate. We thought ourselves heroes, only to...
GTA is like normie slop. I'm talking like an actual, like, real video game. Not the ball and gun dog shit. Like, yeah, by that logic, then every fucking NFL game would count because, you know, a decent portion of the roster raped their wife. Like, you know, whatever.
Realize
you know, they beat their fucking wives, they rape women, you know, deal drugs, shoot people, steal shit. You know, most of them have a felony by age 40, but, you know, yeah.
There's a great secret in this world. One beyond the grasp of ordinary men. A power beyond reason. Its source. It's from...
Yeah, this shit looks goofy, bro.
Another victim of my blade. Your head is mine.
Watch closely. I'll strike only once.
Yeah, exactly. Prototype is a good example. Prototype's a good... I mean, even the Infamous games are a good example of that. Where at least you have, like, some ambiguity on how you want to approach certain, you know, situations from a moral perspective.
My fists strike only the strong. Who's controlling me? Kill! Shadow Sovereign Soul never told me to do this, but I'll make you do it.
I would give everything to the great and merciful lady!
This was my mistake. I have to make it right.
Stupid woman! You damn puppet! Just so go away!
Yeah, every Chinese game looks the exact fucking same nowadays. Whoa, dude!
Extinguish the flame. See what burns beneath. Drop the blade.
Did you see
Let
that
true
berry?
steel speak. No shape. No shadow. Yet it moves through all. That's the path to know.
Who are you?
Show me your strength. Learn the answer.
I'm looking forward to his next move.
Yeah, this is shaping up to be a pass for me, bro. When does it even come out, did they say? Oh, yeah, 10. Whatever. Yeah, I don't know. That's probably a pass. Especially after Wu Kang's and shit. You'll never guess who sent this one, guys. If it was Japanese, I'd be for it. Then why didn't I get a... whoa, long. It's basically just whoa long, bro. Or Sekiro, or insert any other sword parry slappa game. No, it's not new. You'll never guess who sent it.
Sephiroth.
なんだよ。
この時を待ちわびたぞ。さあ、南東に絶望を送ってやろう。 わりだ。
Yeah, fuck Greninja, bro. How is Sephiroth a Nintendo character? Because he transcends, bro. Sephiroth is pretty peak.
じっとしていてくれ。私は思い出にはならないさ。
It's amazing how much better the Japanese voice acting is. I really should play Remake in Japanese. Because from the clips I've seen, like, the voice acting does legitimately sound a million times better. So, you know, the Japanese voice actors actually talk in normal cadence a lot of times. For especially side characters. Whereas, you know, especially the women on the English dub have that obnoxious, like, squeaky quality to them. The Quirk Chungus is audible in their voice. But yeah, Sephiroth, and by extension, like, most of the Final Fantasy VII cast is, like, you know, by far one of the most well-known group of characters in gaming ever. So it doesn't really matter that Final Fantasy VII wasn't a Nintendo game, necessarily. It just more so is the fact that it was such an iconic game in general. So, everyone in Japan knows Final Fantasy VII shit. And most people in the US who are, you know, at least somewhat reasonably versed on gaming know about Final Fantasy VII, so it's kind of just a no-brainer. So, I have an Orimo shirt. Did you see that post on Twitter too? No, I don't. I have the Blu-rays though, and some cards, but no shirt. I don't have any anime shirts or clothing in general. The only gaming stuff I have clothing-wise is I have 2 Gears of War hoodies. That's it. That's the extent of my gaming merchandise.